Once upon a time, in a distant land, there was an enchanting forest. Towering fir trees and deciduous trees, which had just begun to trade their green attire for the golden and rusty hues of autumn, adorned the landscape. The first snow had already blanketed the ground, and the snowflakes gently fell in a delicate dance. In this magical forest lived Nika, a young wolf pup, who was recounting a tale to his friend Dorka about an adventure from his grandfather Ago's youth. Back when Ago was just a pup, he had been taken to a palace by a princess during the Christmas celebration. At the time, Ago knew neither what a palace was, nor what Christmas meant. The story began on a winter's day, when Ago, wandering through the forest, met a princess strolling alone. They struck up a conversation and quickly grew fond of each other, so much so that the princess decided to take Ago with her to the palace to celebrate Christmas together. Without much hesitation, they climbed into a carriage and set off, crossing valleys and hills as the sky grew darker and darker. Snow fell steadily, covering their carriage with a thick white layer. Though it was already nighttime, neither of them felt sleepy. The princess told Ago all about her palace and the Christmas traditions she cherished. Ago's curiosity grew with every step of their journey. He was most eager to know, were there any animals living in the palace, or only humans? What exactly was being celebrated at Christmas? And, most importantly, were there other wolf pups there? These were the questions swirling in his little mind. At dawn, they arrived at a large house. Ago thought this was the palace, but the princess laughed, saying, "How could this be the palace? The palace is much bigger." They continued their journey and reached a large city where the houses were even bigger and more beautiful than the one near the forest, but none of them were the palace. Finally, after passing through the deer meadow, they saw something shimmering like a diamond on a hilltop. At last, this was the palace where the princess lived. The palace changed colors every day, and on major holidays, it would glow in a brilliant golden hue. Inside, it was warm and cozy. In the kitchen, a little mouse was preparing dinner. The princess's sister, Masha, was thrilled by Ago's arrival and showed him everything in the palace. The kitchen filled with various colorful bottles, the grand salons with massive windows, and multiple Christmas trees already adorned with decorations. Ago helped the princess prepare everything needed, saw a magnificent golden-framed mirror for the first time in his life, and also discovered a little golden-capped bottle with a secret inside. Only she knew what it contained. In the other salon, there was a meeting with the princess's sisters, Masha and Lulu. Ago also came in and met Princess Lulu, along with a funny little boy wearing a cap decorated with antlers. He looked exactly like a tiny deer, capturing everyone's attention. Taking advantage of being alone for a moment, the princess tried on a new dress and checked in the mirror to make sure it looked good on her. After she was ready, she called her friend Mark and Ago, and together they read beautiful Christmas stories. They loved taking turns reading. Sometimes Masha would read, sometimes Mark. Each day, someone would choose the book, or if they had visitors, the guests would get to pick the story. After reading, they bundled up warmly and all set off together for the church. All the inhabitants of the palace went to church, the princesses with their parents, friends, and relatives. Everyone, without exception. On the way, they encountered many adorable deer. During the service, they learned about the meaning of Christmas and listened to readings from a massive book they had only ever seen in church. On the way back to the palace, they saw a mysterious white horse adorned with a pink harness. But as they got closer, it disappeared as if it had never been there. They hurried back home, knowing that a warm dinner and many, many gifts awaited them at the palace. On the way home, they talked about what they had heard in church each one sharing what had touched them the most, what they had understood. They regretted that the Christmas service had ended so quickly. They would have happily stayed longer, as that was the place where they felt the happiest. It was very cold outside, so they rejoiced when they finally reached the warmth of the palace again. Meanwhile, as if from nowhere, beautiful gifts appeared under the Christmas tree. A rocking horse, a drum, a toy train, a book, colorful bottles with delightful scents, and much more. In the kitchen, the little mice prepared many pastries and arranged them in beautiful boxes, along with candies and even a delicious 3-layer cake topped with a candle, just like birthday cakes. But whose birthday was it today? They already knew. The display cabinet, which usually held wine bottles, was now filled with sparkling gifts, each one more beautifully wrapped than the other. What could be inside? After eating, singing, and opening the gifts, Ago had to go back home, but with the promise that he would soon return to his dear friends. He made the long journey once more, and when he finally arrived home, he gathered his brothers, sisters, and friends around him. He told them everything about what he had seen, the beautiful palace, but most importantly, about the church service and the great miracle celebrated at Christmas.
Do you know what is celebrated at Christmas? Christmas is a Christian holiday that celebrates the birth of Jesus Christ, who is considered the Savior in the Christian faith. The story of the Lord's birth tells us that Jesus Christ was born in Bethlehem, in a stable, because Mary and Joseph could not find another place to stay. They were in Bethlehem to take part in a census decreed by the Roman emperor, and all the inns were already full. Angels announced this great joy of the baby's birth to the shepherds, and the wise men from the east, guided by a star, came to honor him, bringing gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. This birth marks the beginning of great joy for the entire world. In the Bible, especially in the New Testament, we can read more about these life-changing events. Christmas symbols, such as the decorated Christmas tree, candles, and gifts, have roots in older traditions, but were adapted and incorporated into the Christian celebration.
Those interested in products featuring designs inspired by this story, or who wish to download free materials, are invited to visit the author's website, zurga.site. The link to the site can be found in the comments.